Joining me is Gaurav Dhar, CEO and founder of the WorxShop and board member at MFTA. Gaurav, welcome to Wall Street to Mena.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. First, you exited, as we were saying, a fintech business. Then you went to a sovereign wealth fund. What does that transition actually teach you when you go to sovereign wealth fund?
Well, when you look at the journey of an entrepreneur as an operator, it's very much focused on building a business that has an idea, and that idea needs to build towards traction that builds revenue. And when you bring an investor on board to an exit opportunity like I have, we exited 70% of the business. I'm still a 30% stakeholder with a permanent board seat. And what that teaches you is the business needs to move to the next evolution. So you see the other side of how businesses evolve to a mature point of capital investments from sophisticated investors, private equity, sovereign wealth funds. So that journey of learning how they look at businesses, what they need, the capital brackets in which they operate in, and the outcomes of their expectations is a very steep learning curve, and it was fantastic. It was a brilliant experience so far.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you advise sovereign wealth funds and founders globally. What's the one thing that SWFs actually always get wrong when it comes to investing in fintech?
When you look at SWFs and their track record, it's very tough to say they get anything wrong. They're such sophisticated machinery with such intelligent people and rich data sources. They rarely get anything wrong. What I would actually say is they might not be looking at all the opportunities potentially available to them. And what do I mean by that? I mean by, for example, in this ecosystem, the MENA ecosystem, it's a much younger framework for them to invest in, operate, and get exits. And the reason they can do that now today is if they use seasoned operators to give them insights, like they do consultants effectively.
Yes.
A lot of money from sovereign wealth funds goes abroad in sophisticated markets, North America, Europe, because they have a track record of those businesses growing and being built for IPOs, public markets, or acquisitions. I think in our region, if SWFs, it's a missed opportunity than getting it wrong, especially in the fintech space, to work with seasoned operators who can help them uncover early examples of excellent businesses to invest earlier so they can get better multiples, or perhaps even rescue businesses. So I think the operator segment in this region now is mature enough for them to use them to get more available opportunities, potentially to make better returns on their investments.
Now, you mentioned something about learning. It was a learning curve. And you said also that you know now what they're looking for.
Yes.
So can you share that? What are they looking for when it comes to investing?
I think what's good to look at is when an entrepreneur is looking for investment or an exit opportunity with someone as sophisticated as a private equity, or a large private equity fund or a sovereign wealth fund, they hope that they can alleviate business pressure, open doors, lend their name to the business. Actually, sovereign wealth funds and private equity firms are looking for very, very, how would you say, mature, sophisticated, structured businesses that have good governance. Okay. They don't want to manage businesses. So what I think is happening, and now people need to look at businesses that are very well structured from a corporate governance perspective that requires capital and expertise. And that's what the capital's for, to allow that structure to take on the capital, evolve, without them having to be operators. Sovereign wealth funds don't want to be operators. No one wants to be an operator. The capital providers are good partners to take you on your next part of the journey, but they're not operators. They want to avoid that.
So the first thing, they need to be structured.
Yes.
The business needs to be structured.
Yes, absolutely. And you need to have the right governance in place, whether it's with independent board members, experts. We call them gray hairs in the industry, people who have seen cycles of business to be able to make sure that they're resilient in good times and able to take advantage of opportunities in the best times, bull and bear markets for the business.
Yes, definitely. Let's talk about you being in the board, a board member or a founding board member actually of MFTA. Now, what's the policy fight that you've been pushing for when it comes to policy this year?
I think for us, the focus this year very much so is around stablecoins. what we find is the opportunity around stablecoins is a very large opportunity. And MFTA is in an extremely good position given our track record of bringing the right stakeholders to the conversation. In one room, we convene people who are regulators, financial institutions, startups, and capital to sit together to discuss what needs to happen, the best outcome for all those parties to take forward the conversation for stablecoins to grow. Because what happens in an environment is if you provide clarity, clarity provides confidence. And if you provide confidence, confidence compounds capital. And that's what we're looking at in this ecosystem. The MFTA is looking to be an enabler so that capital can compound because of clarity and confidence in the topics of conversation that we engage the community with, which is specifically, to your point, talking about stablecoins right now is our hot topic.
Yeah. Okay. Another hot topic as
Sure.
well, or like huge players actually in fintech and in investing in fintech here in the UAE are family offices.
Oh, yes.
Now, tell me more about that shift. How did that happen?
Well, the ecosystem has matured to a point where businesses that have been very strong have excess capital and they've created wealth, even multi-generational wealth, right? In many different businesses, automotive, financial services, you name it, healthcare. And with that excess wealth that is allowing them to now take the viewpoint of being an investor, they now have access to data sets and tools. Family offices are very discreet. They're very private on what they do unless they have to publish it for public markets reviews over certain percentages. But other than that, you're seeing family offices are very, very powerful. They're very discreet and they're really participating a lot in the ecosystem. But they need to also have guidance. It's the difference between a new investor and a seasoned investor is the track record of the return on capital. And that is something where I would urge family offices to, in the beginning, hire executive management professionals to guide them, wealth managers, people with insights, before they go out on their own and make significant positions in very high-risk investments.
Yeah. So if a founder today wanted to build a business and want to go to a sovereign wealth fund for investment, what would you tell them to focus on?
I would say they would need to focus on building a business to which it could survive without them. And what I mean by that is,
That is interesting.
when a founder steps into building a business, they're very passionate about an idea, which compels them to leave their corporate jobs or to leave their stable jobs to take a risk by raising capital and growing. But for a business to grow to a point where a founder can engage a sophisticated institution of capital like a private equity fund or sovereign wealth fund, they need to be in a space where when they engage with it, they can't be married to an idea. They need to be married to a structure organization that is so resilient, the product or service they build can be continually grown without them, and it can grow in a market that doesn't need continual funding. It can survive because the value proposition of that business is so strong from competition, and it is so well rooted for the people who are paying for it, that the momentum beyond a point only needs capital, and they themselves can step away. I myself have stepped away from being the CEO of my own business because I need to remove
Because it can
risk.
run by itself without
Yes.
you having to be there.
It also removes key man risk. The idea for another investor to come in to my business should understand that it can operate without me. Yes, I'll be there to give it guidance. Yes, I'll be there to give it an advantage, but it shouldn't work on the basis of a single individual. Think of Apple, think of Microsoft. That's the kind of basis of which people should look to engage.
Great
Sovereign wealth.
advice and great examples as well. Thank you so much for being here with
My
us
pleasure.
today.
Thank you so much.